So we are going to get started right now with Iridology and your health coaching business, aka how to eliminate 4 key stumbling blocks so you can confidently facilitate better client sessions without working overtime and missing time with loved ones. Now that you've seen my smiling face, I'm actually going to turn my camera off because I find it very distracting. There we go. Okay, so again, I do like to tweak things on the fly, and I would love it if you would take a moment and just pop in there what your background is. So we've got nutrition and nutrition, or health and nutrition coaching. Yes, TCM, TCM medical, TCM doctor, yes, and RMT, and only intro to iridology. Excellent, excellent. So excited to have you with me. That is fabulous. And we've got Marjolaine on Facebook, certified holistic nutritionist. Excellent. Okay. So we've got a varied background, and I will make sure that this meets the needs of all of you. This is so important. We are going to go over 4 key stumbling blocks that I see in most holistic health businesses that tend to hold the practitioners back. We're going to go over what you can do about them, and then we're going to also go over how iridology could really help to make these things that we're going to talk about non-issues, how it can totally erase the problem for you and help you to have a better, a more solid practice and all that kind of good stuff. I've seen how powerful iridology is. I've been an iridologist for 40 years now. Yeah, I started when I was 2, just kidding. Okay, so let's dive in because I want to help you with this. I would love it if, as we go through, we're going to talk about problems. I'm going to kind of bare my soul here, and I'm hoping that you will also jump in and help me with this. Okay, so problem number 1 that we want to talk about as we dive right in with both feet. How confident do you feel when you are with a client? Because the biggest problem that I see with most holistic health practitioners is they don't feel as confident as they want to. Maybe it's they don't feel as confident as they think other holistic practitioners are. Do you have the confidence to make the recommendations right then and there in your practice, like when you're right with your client? Do you sometimes experience what we often imposter imposter syndrome? You know, that thought that you have that hangs out in the back of your brain that says, who do you think you are to know enough to help this person? Have you ever had that feeling or that thought in your head? And I'm totally safe place here because I think all of us have felt that. If you have felt that, will you just let me know in the comments somewhere that, yeah, you sometimes feel like you don't have it all together to create these programs when you're with your client. Just, you know, however you want to term that. That kind of confidence hiccup, for lack of a better way of describing it, can really sabotage everything. We're going to circle back to this in a few minutes, and I'm going to give you some steps that you can start implementing right now if this is one of the problems that you have. But before I give you that little tip, and Veronica says, less nowadays could be more streamlined. Okay, excellent. Oh, we're going to talk about streamlining, Veronica. Yeah, we are. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that too, Veronica. I really appreciate that. We're going to circle back to this concept of not feeling as confident as you want to feel when you're doing client sessions. The second problem that I see a lot of holistic practitioners have is that they spend a lot of their own time, unpaid and overtime, creating client protocols. So what that means is that you see your client, then you go off and you design your program, and then you bring it back to the client. I used to, in years gone by, donate 3 to 4 hours for every paid hour. So for every hour I was with my client, I would spend 3 or 4 hours writing a program for them. I'll tell you, that really hit the pocketbook. That so reduced my income. Tell me in the chat if you spend any time outside of your paid client hours creating programs. Do you? And Marjolaine is saying that, yeah, she's had some issues. I think that's with the confidence one, Marjolaine. Am I right with that? Do you find that you're giving time away for free? It's such a challenge, isn't it? but when you look at it, other health practitioners don't do that. No other professionals actually do that, at least not to the extent that nutritionists and herbalists do. Like my dentist doesn't give me time for free. My massage therapist sure doesn't. She charges me for 60 minutes, but it's really a 50-minute massage. My physiotherapist doesn't give me stuff for free. We're going to circle back to this as well, because I'm going to share with you how giving time away actually kills your business. And this is a part of that streamlining thing, I think, Veronica, that we're talking about with you a little bit. Problem number 3, you're tired of constantly having to find new clients. Is that a challenge for you, that your appointment book maybe doesn't have quite as many people in it as you'd like it to have? And I'd love to know this in the comments too. Marjolaine says, yes, it is. And I always do overtime as we were told to follow the intake and questionnaire format. Yes, Marjolaine. Oh my goodness. Yes, we're going to talk about that. Yeah, we're going to give you some solid ideas to help you fix that. When we look at ways of finding new clients, okay, this is the truth. I've done trade shows. Now, trade shows are hard, not just because they're like usually 3 10-hour days in a row, but I'm an introvert. And I find it really hard to be in groups that large and engage with one person at a time. When I am in a group of like thousands of people walking past a trade show booth, I just want to crawl under the table. Right? So that never worked. Spent lots of time and lots of money on trade shows all over Southern Alberta and did not ever get any business out of it. What about the free lectures and workshops? You're going to see a lot of people saying you just need to find places to give free workshops and free lectures, and then people will come and see you. Well, I've always believed that it's good to pay it forward, and I have done a lot of free lectures in my career of 40 years. And out of those 40 years, I've gotten exactly 1 client by doing a free workshop. All right, so that didn't work. What about flyers? Have you tried doing flyers? I did. I used to have an office in a little strip mall, a little, a street mall that was located next to some very nice areas. I'm not talking super upscale, but very nice. There had been some new developments there and older homes had been refurbished. I thought, these people are the people who are in the know. They want holistic stuff. So I did the flyers. Now, here's the trick with flyers. The statistics from the marketing companies teach us this. You have to do a flyer every 2 weeks to the same address for 7 times to get a 1 to 2% return. So if you choose 100 homes and you drop flyers off at them every 2 weeks for 7 weeks, you could get phone calls back from 1 or 2 of those residents. That's a lot of time and a lot of money to invest to find a client. So why do we have to constantly find new clients anyways? Is it because maybe your clients are only coming in for 1 or 2 appointments and then they're disappearing? Okay, so my big question for you on that is, what the heck? What is going on with that? Why does that happen, and what can you do about it? Wouldn't you rather, and I want to know this, wouldn't you rather have lots of long-term repeat clients who maybe come in for 3 or 4 appointments this year, and then they take a little break, and then they come in for 3 or 4 appointments next year, and have tons of those kinds of clients so that you never have to look for new clients? Would that be good? Is that, if you would like that, raise your hand or put, I want that, or I want repeat business or something. Let me know that that is important for you, because we're going to look at that as well. Now, once I figured out some of these problems, because I have had all of these problems back in the early days of my business, when I figured out how to solve the problem, I created the situation where I have long-term repeat clients. And some of those clients, we've done the math because they still come in, have been with me for 38 years. The fun part of this is some of those people that have been with me for 38 years, well, I was taking care of the moms while they were having babies. And now those babies are having babies. So we're on our 3rd generation of some of these families. This is so fun. And it's so rewarding to know that I created that impact in that family that many years ago, that they still want what I've got. So we're going to circle back to this as well in a few minutes to give you some ideas. Problem number 4. Do you have any of those nagging thoughts in the back of your brain that say, I should just get a real job, but you don't want to? Oh, Marjolaine on Facebook is saying this. Most of what we hear and what's recommended is to have a signature program of 10 to 12 weeks. Yes, Marjolaine? Yes, and I've studied with those people as well, and I totally understand where they're coming from. And for some people, doing group only or primarily group programs is the way they want to work. And doing them online and all that, and it works really well. And there's a lot of tech to set up, and a lot of these coaches will help you with it. I'm not that kind of girl. And that's why I prefer one-on-one. So I prefer seeing clients one-on-one. When I teach, I prefer smaller groups. I don't want the headache. Oh, that came out wrong. I don't want the stress. That probably came out wrong too. Of all of the issues that can go when you've got 100 or 200 or 300 people in a group program. Okay, I love the one-on-one, and I know, and I'm proving that you can actually make this fly really well with one-on-ones. Okay, but it's about creating some rapport. We're going to work with that. So if you find that you've got that thing in the back of your head that says you should just get a real job, but you don't want to, you know, one of the things we need to watch out for that's like, you know, a roadside sign that goes, look out, falling confidence. Okay, we resist getting a real job because it's an open admission of failure. And none of us want to fail, right? We didn't go to school to fail. And so we keep hanging on and trying different things and hoping it's going to make this work. And there we go. Marjolaine is saying, I need face-to-face 1 to 3 people. I can't do online stuff. Fair enough. Okay, well, you know, so here we go. Let me know in the chat if any of these are your problems. You don't feel totally confident when you are face-to-face with your clients, or you give your time away, or your clients come in only for 1 or 2 appointments and then they disappear, or you feel like you should just get a real job. Yeah, any of that sound like you? Sound like where you're at? If it is, I want to see that in the comments box. I want to know that you've that those are the challenges you feel. And you know what? I want to know which one. Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4, or is it actually all of them? While you're getting that in there and letting me know, whatever motivated you to show up today, I want you to know I've got your back. Whether you're just starting out and struggling to get your business off the ground, or maybe you've been in business for a few years and it's just not working the way you thought it would, it doesn't matter. Everyone who's in the holistic health coaching business has struggled this way. Allison, thank you. She says 1 and 2, definitely. So she's got a few of those issues with, let's just pop back there for a second, with not feeling totally kind and giving her time away. Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that, Allison. We've all struggled with some of these things, and because these are things that we aren't born with this knowledge. We weren't taught in school how to do this. And Marjolaine, oh, Marjolaine, doesn't this just kill you? She says she's all 4 of those are her problems. And she's been told that if she truly cared, she would do it for free. I've had that too. My response back to the person who said, well, if you really were serious about doing this, you'd do it for free. I said back, and who would pay for my classes? Who would pay for the training? Who would pay for the phone bills? Who would pay for my rent? Who would put food on my table? Right? It's not, yeah, people who say you do it for free don't understand the value of what you do. Because we aren't taught how to do this, we aren't given the tools, we aren't born with them. None of our schooling teaches us how to do this. we are going to go through some ways that we can start overcoming those 4 problems right here, right now. Then we're going to look at how iridology can actually help with all of it. I'm going to give you some actions that you can do for homework, so stick with me. And as a little bit of something to sweeten the pot here, if you stick with me to the end, oh, and Allison said, oops, and also 4. Thank you, Allison. Thank you for being vulnerable and for participating like this. It's so good because it's true. I've got a little gift that I want to give each of you. And if you'll stay to the end of our webinar today, to the end of our web class, I will give you a link to a document that is going to help you be able to encourage your clients to become repeat clients. It's going to help you to keep your sessions on time and get rid of that unpaid overtime. But you're going to have to stay to the end to get it. So if you are prepared to stay to the end, give me an I'm staying in the comments, whichever platform you're on. Because you know what? There's a real problem. And the real problem is this. And Marjolaine, you hit this right square. The real problem is the way we were taught to create programs when we went to nutrition school or when we went to herb school or maybe even naturopathic school doesn't actually work. It eats up your time. It sucks up your energy. It kills your dreams. Tell you, it sure tried to kill mine. And we've got Allison and Veronica and Marjolaine all staying. Wonderful. Thank you so much. You've probably figured out we're a small group, right? Because iridology is one of those niche things that it's not mainstream. Now, the challenge here is that doing things the way we were taught to do it in school sucks the dream out of us. And for me, the dream was this, and I want to know if this is what your dream looks like too. To have a happily full appointment book, not overloaded, but not so empty that I can kind of throw darts at it and never hit an appointment. My dream back when I figured this out was to be able to get home or to the soccer field or the hockey rink for my kids' games every time. Now it's to get there for my grandkids' games. The dream was to help my clients feel really successful for working with me. I wanted to make my clients feel like that they wanted to come back, that they enjoyed what we were doing. They were getting success. They were really loving what we did. And part of my dream was I wanted to feel successful too. Does any of that sound like what you want? What you want? You know, as we look at this, and I would love to know if that's what you have in your mind's eye as what you want for your business as well. And while you're giving that to me in the comments, I want to introduce you to my family. This is them. Me and my sweetie, we just celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary. We're pretty stoked about that. 7 of these lovelies are our children, and I'm not going to show you which 7 because 5 of them are what I call my children from another mother, which means they are I don't like the term in-laws. They're our children from another mother. And then we have 8 grandbabies here now, which is so much fun. I grew my business as a health coach while we were having children. There were many years when I had a nursing baby in the office with me. Allison says she wants all of that. Wonderful. Thank you, Allison. There was even times back then, because we didn't have the internet, when I was teaching face-to-face classes and I would have to take a nursing baby with me. I knew what busy was. And so if you're busy now, I get it, whether it's a family, a young family, or aging parents, or maybe there's some other things that are really important to you that really take your time. I get what busy is. In recent years, as we've come closer and closer to being empty nesters, we only have one of these lovely people at home with us now. I've been able to create classes including Confident Nutritionist, Dynamic Iridology, with the complete vision of empowering holistic practitioners to create the business of their dreams. What's important here as we talk about this course, this program, and how it can help you and how to solve some of those problems we've talked about is that you're learning from someone who's been there and done that. I've got nutrition training, herbology training, flower essences, aromatherapy, emotional freedom technique, VitaFlex, biokinesiology, 3 different styles of iridology. And through all of that, I did not accept everything just on blind faith. I would study it out, and if it worked, I would keep it. And if it didn't work, I would throw it away. Marjolaine says that they've just celebrated their 40th as well. Congratulations, that's cool. Additionally, for I think all of us, we now have the added challenge of having to work under government regulations for scope and practice, limitations of what we do. We have limitations with COVID lockdowns, and it makes it even more challenging. But I've got lots of grads who've done my program, and they've said that it's been a real game changer for them in their businesses, the way they work their businesses and the way they work with their clients. And if it's worked for them, it can work for you too. But 35 years ago, remember, I've been at this for 40 years. 35 years ago, I was struggling with working way too much overtime to get my client programs done. I was tired. We had 2 babies already, and a 3rd one was on the way. I was depleted. I was passionless. I was starting to really resent my business. I was overwhelmed with getting my program clients designed. But I really believed back then, and I still believe now, that while some programs can be very similar, every program needs a little bit of customization. Tell me if you agree with that. Do you agree that every paying client deserves to have something in their program that is unique to them? I want to know that in the comments. You know, and I had all this training under my belt, and it just wasn't working. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who has struggled like that, with that frustration, that overwhelm, that it just wasn't working. Let me give you an example, and I just want to see if this sounds at all familiar to you. In the first several years of my business, Allison says it's really important to her. Thank you, Allison. I appreciate that. When I first started, I would see a client for the first time. Our first appointments were supposed to last an hour. I would ask the client to arrive 15 minutes early to take care of some paperwork, including an intake questionnaire. But my clients never showed up early. They always showed up right on time, which meant that she was taking up 10 to 15 minutes of her appointment to fill in the paperwork. So we would get started with the appointment. We've already got time gone by. I'd ask her then what she wanted my help with. I'd read her written answers. I'd make some notes. I'd ask her more questions. By now we've used a full hour. Oops, time's up. But I couldn't let her go there. I hadn't given her anything yet, right? Marjolaine likes to have her programs customized as well. So with this client then, I would start teaching her more than she could possibly absorb in one session, meandering all over the place, thinking I was adding value. By now, we're at the 90-minute mark. We'd schedule the next appointment, for which I would prepare a massive report, usually a resource folder, and a good chunk of the time, my client would cancel last minute. So she wouldn't even come in for the second appointment. I'd spent all this time creating this program for her, but I couldn't figure out why they weren't coming back in. Why? I'd given them solutions to their problems. Hadn't I given them good value for their dollar? Heavens, I gave them an extra 30 or 60 minutes for free when they were in my office. And they didn't even know that I'd spent all these extra hours creating this program for them. But still, they weren't coming back. So after a couple of years, the thought started circling in my head, just get a real job. You'd make more money with less stress working at McDonald's. Does that sound familiar? Like, is that sort of how your client sessions go as well? So I actually did try to get a job. I had done a lot of office work part-time through high school and as summer jobs in university. But I soon learned that the standards for hiring a full-time employee are very different than a part-timer or a summer student. No one wanted a slow typist as a full-time permanent hire. I was clearly unemployable, and I was miserable and I felt like a failure. But I knew I was at the leading edge of something big, because this was, again, in the early 80s. Where were we with holistic health in the early 80s, right? We were at the beginning of the tsunami. And I also loved what I was doing. I had a dream and I wanted to make this work. But I was feeling discouraged and dejected. And that was when I decided that I was going to figure this out somehow. And that was when I was blessed with the opportunity to go from the iridology I already knew to learning constitutional iridology. Learning constitutional iridology and learning how to apply it properly, and I'm using that word very carefully, properly, in my practice, is what the turning point was for me, because it made it so that I could get my programs developed right in my client session. I can create a nutrition program in 20 minutes and have it be spot on. So I've helped a lot of other practitioners with this. They've had the same results. The two of the most important things that I learned on this journey are that I actually knew enough nutrition and herbology to help my clients. I didn't need to keep taking nutrition and herb classes if I didn't want to at that point in time. I do that because I'm a bit of a geek, but I didn't need to. My success wasn't going to be based on that. And I figured out that what I actually didn't know, and let me know if this sounds at all familiar to you, is how to identify, sort, and prioritize what I knew to create simple and effective programs for my clients, step-by-step programs. When I figured that out, it was like a light bulb went on, and it just worked. So for the past 30 years, I've had my appointments on time, my client programs fully developed in my client sessions, and done in such a way that my clients want to come back for more and more and more. So can you imagine being able to get your client programs designed right in your paid sessions? How would that make things different for you? I would love to know in the chat box, how would things be different for you if you were getting your client sessions, your client programs designed in your paid sessions, and you didn't have to work overtime anymore? I want you to meet Karen. She is one of the grads of my program. She's certified as a CNHP, and she is a natural digestive health specialist. She's been had been in practice for several years before she found me, and she'd been struggling just the way we've talked about. She would create programs, her clients wouldn't come back, the programs were too intricate, they were too big, she was doing it on her own time, everything was not working. As she wasn't even finished the program. She was about halfway through when she sent me an email that said, "Now I've begun to implement this incredible work in my practice quite successfully. It truly has helped immensely in my decisions and assessments. I am definitely a much more confident nutritionist." Wonderful. That's what we wanted. What would it feel like to have no more unpaid homework? To be getting your programs done in your sessions? What would it feel like to be that confident that you could recommend things on the spot and just feel great, know that you were right on the target? What would it feel like to have more free time? Would you see more clients? Would you have more family time? Is there a hobby or a charity you want to work with? What would that feel like? What would it feel like to have an appointment book full of clients who love working with you and who can't stop telling their friends about you? Just in this last about 5 months, I had one of those long-term clients come back. I hadn't seen her in about 15 years. She came back. She brought both of her adult daughters with her. And then because of the work that she does, she sent in 3 of her own clients to see me. It's like, that's what I love, right? See 1, get 6. That works for me. So if that all sounds like it would work for you, yeah. Here's what I know for sure. I'm going to give you now the 4 very specific steps that you can do, things that will help you to build your business. But I'm also going to share with you a couple of examples of how you implement these things using iridology to make them even stronger. So the things I'm going to share with you now, they will work. They will work even without iridology, but if you want to power punch this, yeah, you're going to want to add iridology to it. So the first stumbling block is you fire hose your clients with too much information. I want to see if that sounds familiar. Because in school, we were taught to create programs based on a case study model, right? We were given a description of a client who had a health concern. We hit the books, now you'd hit the internet, doing research and designing and crafting and writing, and you would create a case style study program to hand in as a project. But they never told you that's not how you actually create a program for a person. It's how you create a program if it's being marked by a teacher. But it has way too much information in it. And that means that you are fire hosing your client. Because you write your programs this way, you've been taught to believe that you don't know enough to create a program on the spot, when I assure you, you do. And when you give that program, that huge case study to your client, she feels overwhelmed. She leaves your office looking like a deer in the headlights, or worse, she's discouraged. She tries to do what you've outlined, and she's good for about 36 hours, but she could never be that perfect. And guess what? She feels like a massive failure in one step, and she's not going to come back to see you because she doesn't want to tell you she failed. Yeah, Marjolaine says, yes, led to believe that each of our clients had to be held as a case study. Oh my goodness, and it's just the wrong way, wrong on every level. So have you ever seen that look on your client's face? Or are you writing case study style reports for your clients? So what do you do about it? You hope your computer doesn't freeze like mine just did, because it's not advancing my slide. We'll just give this a half a second to decide it wants to wake up again. And it doesn't. Oh my goodness, I've never had this happen before. My computer has totally frozen. And it is not letting me move forward. Oh my goodness. There we go. There we go. But it has jumped way too far ahead. Okay, let's give it just a second to, there we go. We got it back. Don't you love tech glitches? Not really, right? Oh my goodness. Okay. If you're speed reading, good for you. All right, there we go. This is the one we want. Solution number one, thank you for bearing with me. Chunk it down. Because here's the solution, give less. This is going to be painful for you if you've been doing case studies, but here's the thing. Your client doesn't need or want to know everything you know. They just want to know what the next step is. They don't need everything to get to the very end. They need the next step. You know how good they'll feel just for getting the next step in place. And as they're successful with that, they're going to want more. And I'm going to teach you how to plant the idea with them that there's more, and that when they're successful with this step, they need to come back to get more. So important, because giving them something they can be successful with, they want to come back. They want to come back and say, yes, I did it 90%. I only cheated once, and this is how I'm feeling, just like you said. They want to do that. We call this being massively successful in baby steps. Stumbling block number two, you start at the wrong place in their program. Now, does this sound familiar? You can't help them correctly heat gut if the stomach isn't producing enough acid. You can't help them lose weight through diet and exercise if their intestinal flora is out of balance. You can't help them if you start the program at the wrong point. You've got to pick the right starting place. Now, when we don't know where the starting point is, we tend to overcompensate and we fire hose them, hoping we're hitting the starting point somewhere. Tell me in the comments if you've ever done that. Have you ever overcompensated and given too much information in the hope that something in there would stick, like the pasta was cooked well enough that it sticks to the ceiling kind of thing? I think we've all done that. I know I have. Thank goodness I stopped. So you have to start at the beginning, at the root. And if you're going to help your client achieve real, long-term, doable success, you've got to create for yourself a map. You've got to create a therapeutic sequence. And this is notes for you. Veronica is saying, yes, less is more. Absolutely, Veronica, less is more. You have to create a map for yourself, and this is for your eyes only, where you outline in the notes that you keep on your clients today, the next appointment, the next appointment, the next appointment. What do you want to do and in what order, so that you don't give them everything all at once. You don't want to slam them with the whole thing. You want to give them the first step. And then here's how you're going to use that. As you give them that first step and you're nearing the end of the appointment, you let them know. And that first step might be 2 or 3 little things. It might be increase your water intake to 6 glasses a day, eat a large bowl, and show them how big a large bowl is, of leafy greens every day, and let's reduce the coffee by 2 cups, right? It could be very simple steps, but just a couple of steps. Gauge it by your client's reaction. If your client is going, oh my goodness, you want me to drink 6 glasses of water a day? I'm going to be swimming. Then only work on water. Don't give them anything else, right? So do this in little steps, because as they're leaving, you're going to do a couple of things. The first one is you're going to give them that homework, and then you're going to tell them that when they get the results, you know, they should get for doing the homework, that you want to see them again. Now, that's going to give them 3 things. It's going to hit them on 3 levels. Number 1, because you've tied the thing that you're asking them to do into and explained how that thing affects the symptoms they wanted help with, they know that they've been heard. That's number 1. They've been heard. Number 2, when you say, when you've accomplished this, come back and we'll work on the next step, it tells them that you are confident and you have a plan. You're not just shooting in the dark. You're not just guessing. You know where you're taking this. The third thing it does is it puts it squarely on their shoulders. It is their responsibility to do their homework, because you can't work miracles for them if they don't do their homework, right? And they will work the miracles for themselves, basically. And so, just so important that they get that clear idea that it is on their shoulders. Stumbling block number 3. Tell me if this is you. Some nutrition coaches use computerized assessments. Do you do that? Do you have a gadget, a biometric doodad of some sort, or an online questionnaire, anything like that? Well, I used to have a couple of these things. I thought the tech was lots of fun and it was really cool. And then the more I worked with it, the more I went, this isn't even working. It wasn't giving me results that I could actually work with my client. I didn't think they were accurate. I didn't think they were reading the situation very well. It was giving recommendations that I knew my client couldn't stick with. So I finally decided to throw it away, because the other thing is that my clients started coming in saying, are we going to do a scan today? I was like, I could be replaced by tech. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to have that rapport with them. I wanted to walk their wellness journey with them. So I got rid of them. Not the clients. I got rid of the gadgets. I got rid of the tech stuff that didn't help me at all. Now I'm going to tell you, lengthy questionnaires are no better. Absolutely no better. They ask dozens of questions that are totally irrelevant. They waste your client's time. They waste your time. They muddy the waters. They don't help anything. You do need an informed consent form. Absolutely. But you don't need a questionnaire. You know your stuff better than that. Right? So what do? How do you get past this one? Well, you have to learn how to ask the right kinds of questions, because there is so much more power in specific, well-designed questions than there ever will be in a one-size-fits-all questionnaire. This is something we really work with in Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology. We work with correlating the client's symptoms to the eyes, and not that it's a one-on-one, one-to-one thing where a symptom is going to show up as a marker in the eye. But if a client has a particular symptom and we understand how to interpret what we're seeing in the eye, then we also understand why the client has that symptom. And when we understand all of that, then we understand what we need to teach our client to help them gain control of their health. By using the iridology with this, it guides the questions that we need to ask, and it helps us to be laser focused on what we're doing with our client to get to the root of the problem quickly and easily. Stumbling block number 4. You are not unique. You blend in with the nutrition coaching crowd. Did any of you just go, ouch, that hurts? Yeah. So with this, the fact of the matter is that everybody who graduated when you did has the same training you've got. And unless you've done something to make yourself unique, you are the same as everybody else. And so it's really important that you make yourself unique, that you add tools to your tool belt that make you unique. So important. So, I think it really should be a part of the core curriculum of all of our holistic education. Something about not just marketing, but how to stand out in a crowd, because we need to do that. Becoming unique as a nutrition coach does not mean that you've got a recipe book or a Facebook page. Those are a dime a dozen. It means that you've got a unique skill set. Now, here's the trick, is so many holistic practitioners keep taking courses and adding skills, right? And they think that's good until they reflect back on it and they realize they're not using 1/10 of what they've learned. They keep taking courses hoping it's going to make the difference, but the courses are standalone courses and they don't help you as a practitioner to integrate what you already know. You've got more nutrition training and herbal training and holistic health training than the vast majority of people out there, right? Do you agree with me that you do? Yeah? What I'm suggesting you need to know is how to put it together, how to draw bits and pieces from each of the things you know, each of the disciplines you know, to create unique programs that will help your individual clients. If you decide to join me in Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology, you will see and learn how to use dynamic iridology to create amazing, doable programs for your clients. Let's do a quick review here. Really quick, the 4 stumbling blocks. When you fire hose your clients with too much information, you've successfully made their appointment, their health, and their program all about you, your insecurities, and your need to be proven right. Ouch. But when you learn how to chunk it down and give them doable, laser-focused steps, it ensures that they will be successful. They know they've been heard, and you've made their appointment all about their health and all about them. When you start at the wrong place in their program, you're probably doing it because you're giving your client what you think they expect, or maybe it's because you don't actually know how to find the root of their problem. But when you understand how to find the root, and when you have a plan, when you've got a roadmap, the client may not get earth-shattering and amazing results that they were hoping for in like overnight, but you know that their success will be more solid because they are getting the results, they're creating new habits, they are creating a new lifestyle. Avoid the temptation to go with techno gadgets. Really, they are expensive, they are rapport busting. Unless, of course, you want to be replaced by the latest technology. So many clients, when they find this stuff, they go, it's $2,000. Hey, I'll just go and buy it for myself. then I can cut you out of the deal. Not cool. But instead, you become indispensable when you know how to ask the right kinds of questions. When you ask the questions that your client can feel and knows are specific to them, right? So important, so important. And you know what, your stumbling block number 4 is that you're not unique. And if you don't have the right skills and tools to your repertoire, you're going to remain ununique, blend in with the crowd. So the turning point, as I mentioned earlier, for me was when I learned how to use iridology, constitutional iridology, which I call dynamic iridology, in the right way. I don't use a questionnaire anymore. I have a release form, but I've never had a client complain about not filling in a questionnaire. Asking the questions, knowing what questions to ask, using their eyes to guide me through the questions to ask, using their symptoms with their eyes to guide me through those questions means I create a deeper rapport more quickly, and I can create that therapeutic sequence very quickly. I know where I'm going for at least the next 4 sessions with this client. So now you've got a choice. Keep doing what you're doing, hoping things will magically change while you continue working unpaid overtime and continue missing time with loved ones so you can keep overwhelming your clients so they won't come back while you get discouraged and keep thinking, I should just get a real job. Or you can make some radical changes in what you do and how you think so you can ditch the overtime and have a life that actually includes time with your loved ones because you give your clients exactly what they need to succeed, so they want to come back again and again, while you think to yourself, I love the career I've created for myself. And this is where iridology, specifically constitutional iridology, comes in, because this course is so much more than an iridology course. I'm not going to teach you just what the markings are. I'm going to teach you to understand what the markings mean, how to interpret things, how to integrate that with what you already know about nutrition, herbology, whatever other modalities you work with. This was the turning point for me. And because of it, all of my appointments are on time. My appointment book is happily full. I don't donate time anymore. And I get my programs for that day done in like 20 minutes while I'm with my client, which is wonderful. And it means I'm not overloading my client with things that they don't need. When we do constitutional iridology, it helps us to understand what the person's possible imbalances are genetically or inherently. And it shows us what their dynamic imbalances are as well. So my first passion is my one-on-one clients in my office. I love my one-on-ones. My second passion that I love as much, for sure, is working with holistic practitioners, teaching them constitutional iridology, and helping them integrate it into their practice, because it helps you integrate everything you already do. Let's look at a case of how this works. Because when you understand constitutional iridology and combine it with what the client wants help with, you can create the steps of a step-by-step nutrition program seriously in 20 minutes. All right, so this client came to me with her husband. She is in her mid-30s. They'd been trying for 3 years to get pregnant. And while they've been trying to do that, they also went to the fertility clinic. Okay, so I didn't know that at the very outset. So she said they were trying to get pregnant. So I went to the first question, which is, tell me about your menstrual cycles. And she said they were 90 days apart. So then I looked at her eyes and I took these photographs. And her eyes made me ask her, how do you handle stress? What happens in your body? What do you feel like? What happens in your head when you handle stress? Her husband was with her and he kind of laughed. He said, well, I know when she's under stress at work and I just make sure I get home first to make dinner and feed her so she can go have a hot bath. Nice, wonderful husband. He's a keeper, right? Then looking at her eyes, I asked her, does the stress go to your stomach? As in literally the stomach, not the gut, but the stomach. And she went, oh yeah, the more stressed I am, the less I eat. All right. Then I asked her, do you crave sugar? And she said, I sure do. And I'm getting all of this from things I see in her eyes. She has brown eyes with varying shades of brown in here. And so that made me ask if anyone had ever suggested that she had maybe the MTHFR defect. And what kind of vitamins was she on? Well, she had been taking just a generic cheapo prenatal vitamin. I was able to explain to her that her carb cravings were likely due from an inherited liver enzyme imbalance, and that she probably burns her B vitamins too fast and her calcium and magnesium, and that we probably wanted to do some liver support just in case she had the MTHFR defect. Well, it turns out all the questions I asked about the cravings, that I asked about stress, and I asked about stomach, I was right on the money, because as we started talking about diet and cravings, she said, oh, by the way, they told me I'm type 2 diabetic. She wasn't overweight. She's a petite little thing. And so when I put 90-day cycles with insulin resistance type 2 diabetic, I knew that we were probably working with, although I couldn't say this out loud, polycystic ovarian syndrome, right? And that all goes hand in hand with the MTHFR defect, which goes right back to the liver enzymes again. So the doctor had given her metformin and Clomid, but had not given her any dietary advice. So based on her eyes and over the first 4 appointments, we got her on the right kinds of B vitamins, the methylated B vitamins. We got her on a diet that did not include things like donuts and juice for breakfast, but where she was actually getting protein and good water and good herbal teas and getting enough fluid in her diet. We also, over that 4 months, got her to where she was doing something active for 30 minutes a day. She is an accountant, and so her job is all sitting. So her eyes led me to ask the questions that helped me laser in on what she needed to know. If I hadn't seen her eyes, I wouldn't have even thought MTHFR. I wouldn't have known I needed to go that direction with the methylated Bs. And those were some of the linchpins in her program. Right? It did take her another 14 months to conceive, but we got her cycles down to 30 days. They were beautiful. And then we did a few other things with her program to tweak it to improve her fertility on top of the basic nutrition and vitamins and minerals. But it was the eyes that led me to know that we needed to work especially with her liver. Without that, I wouldn't have known. Here's another case. This is another woman in her mid-30s. She'd been trying to get pregnant with her husband for a month. So what questions would I ask based on these eyes? Obviously, with trying to get pregnant, I needed to ask about her menstrual cycle, and she said that they were 35 days. That's workable. But when I noticed there's some markings in her eyes that tell me she's really prone to hormone imbalances. So I dug a little deeper. What are your cycles like? Well, they're not even a problem. There's no cramping. There's nothing. There's almost no flow. Oh, almost no flow. Have you had testing done? Yes, I've had an ultrasound. What did they find with your uterine lining? Oh, I have a very thin uterine lining. That is our hormone imbalance right there, showing up with the fact that she wasn't building a thick enough lining to actually have anything for an embryo to implant in. I also saw a suggestion in her eyes that she had the MTHR defect. Now, I also asked her about how she handles stress. She doesn't handle it well. She admitted that she tends to be anxious a lot. That, of course, is going to burn through her B vitamins really, really quickly and her calcium and magnesium. Now, that's a problem because I suspect she has the MTHFR defect. And do you all know what MTHFR is? We don't have time to really go into detail on that, but I could do a little bit more if we need it. I knew that I needed to support her liver. I needed to give her the methylated Bs. And I knew that I needed to go in probably, well, with her, we did some N-acetylcysteine because that's what we thought her liver needed. So she actually got pregnant. It only took her 6 months, which was pretty cool. And partway through the pregnancy, she did the 23andMe. And then I got the email from her that was vibrating, just vibrating with anxiety. She was panicking, full panic mode. She actually tested as with 23andMe as having the Mthfr defect. And I was able to say to her in the emails, you know what? It's okay. Take a deep breath. I suspected that from the get-go. I've had your back since the beginning. We've done all the right vitamins that will help to protect you and your baby from any fallout from the Mthfr defect. And it was so wonderful. Her email back to me after that was, I knew there was a reason I was going to you. You are now my #1 healthcare provider. And it was like, whoo, that's very cool. I like the sound of that. All right, so are you ready to learn a little bit more about the course itself? You've seen some of what it can do. We've given you some tips to help you start moving your business forward even without iridology, but are you ready to learn more about the program itself? I'm hoping you're saying yes, because that's where we're headed. You ready to make some radical changes in what you know and how you implement it? Imagine feeling like you've not just got the knowledge, but you actually have the confidence to create huge success in your clients' lives and thereby in your own life. Imagine being mentored for as long as you need it. And I mean that, to make sure you've got this under your belt and to make sure that you are doing, that you've just got confidence. What would it feel like to not be doing this by yourself? The goal of Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology, and this is a 20-week fully mentored constitutional iridology training program to help practitioners like you incorporate what you already know about herbology and or nutrition while mastering iridology and while building your confidence as a practitioner. And it's to help you streamline your clinical work without sacrificing any of the client care that is so important to you. This is all about helping you use what you know to laser in and create those programs on the spot. It's a step-by-step course that teaches constitutional iridology in a logical and sequential manner. We have time within the class, and I make sure we do, to practice what you've learned and to be coached. There's loads of mentoring to help you confidently apply what you've learned. And we do this with through 20 live 2-hour-long webinars. It's interactive, way more than interaction than we're doing now. Small class sizes, so you get all the attention you need. It's designed to give you all of the curriculum that you need should you decide that you want to certify as an iridologist with the International Iridology Practitioners Association. You'll have access to the online learning materials for the lifetime of the course, and we'll go over what those materials are in just a moment. The live webinars mean that you're not doing the course by yourself. They mean that you can ask questions and get answers in real time, face-to-face when you have them. And it means you get to interact with other holistic health practitioners at the same time, that they're on the same path as you are. In the scope of this program, lesson 1, we do an introduction to iridology, history of iridology and eye anatomy. Because iridologists see the eyes a little bit differently sometimes than other people do. We place different importance on different things. Lessons 2 through 4, we study the constitutions and the constitutional subtypes, and even knowing just that information, you will be able to start doing very, very basic iris readings that will begin to speed up your work and give you more insight. In lesson 5, we cover specific pigments because they add depth to what we see in the eyes. They add meaning to what we see in the eyes. We begin to understand which organs are wanting to create stress, which organs are likely to suffer because of that. Lessons 6 through 8, we look at the fiber variations, how the threads are sitting in the eye, because that also helps us to understand what might be waiting to become a health concern. In lesson 9, we talk about the nervous system and the pupil shape. Those Both actually teach us a lot about how the nervous system in this person functions. In lesson 10, we look at the nutritive zone, and this is everything that relates to the stomach and the intestinal tract. When we understand how the stomach works, we can then do things that will help the stomach to function better. Lessons 11 through 13, we look at what is called the collarette. This again correlates to the nervous system and gives us more information about the intestinal system. Lesson 14, we look at the humoral and ciliary zones, which teaches us how the nutrients are transported through the body and how they are used by different organs in the body. In lesson 15, we look at contraction furrows. These again teach us different things about the nervous system and how the person copes with stress. In lesson 16, we look at syndromes, and in lesson 17, syndromes and zone 7, which if the person's got a syndrome showing up in their eye, wow, does it speed up the assessment. Lesson 17 is how do the eyes change? Lessons 18 and 19, we look at the whites of the eyes. The iris itself, the colored part, shows us the genetic blueprint or the inherent potentials. The white of the eye show us what's dynamic, what is going on right now. And in lesson 20, we do a wrap up. Even by the time we're just partway through the course, you will be amazed at how much more confidence you have because of all of the things you've learned and the practice that we've done. This, I want you to consider for a moment what it would cost for you to do 40 hours of training as a 5 or 6 day workshop. So if you had to travel somewhere to do a 40-hour iridology program, you would be paying anywhere from $1,200 to $2,200 US to take a course like this taught by an IPA certified instructor. You would also then have to pay for airfare, probably. Maybe $500. You would have your hotel and your accommodation. That might be $700. You'd have your meals, maybe, $30 a day to travel a day to travel to get back. You're looking at 7 days. That's $200. Transportation from the airport to the venue and back, probably another $100. Your travel insurance. What about time off work? If you take a whole week off work, how much is that costing you? Do you have childcare expenses? Do you have to pay someone to do pet care or elder care? In total, you're probably looking at about $4,200 US to do a face-to-face course in the US. Now, that translates to about 5,700 Canadian, and that's going to be important in a minute because I charge in Canadian dollars. The value of the curriculum that you will get in this course is $23.95 Canadian. We're going to talk about how that translates to US, British pounds sterling, Australian dollars in just a moment. For some of you, you might think that it might be difficult to actually get control of your time, to get your programs created right in your own business. This is what one of my students said. This is Sharon Bimrose. She's a naturopath from Australia. She had done iridology as a part of her naturopathy studies. She said that Confident Nutritionist surpassed her previous training in structure, content, delivery, documentation, and support. Iridology has certainly reduced the time required for prioritizing a treatment plan. Huge. That is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Karen Choate, who we met earlier, says she had just returned from a regenerative detoxification course, and they used a lot of iridology there. She spread the word about my course. Most people I talked with did not have anywhere near the same experience with their iridology education. They had no support, they had unanswered questions, and a lot of confusion. Mostly they finished their classes not knowing how to implement what they had learned. I see so much of this. I feel so absolutely blessed to have been taught by you. I feel totally supported even now as I've graduated, and it's actually 3 years ago that she graduated now. I don't think there's anyone out there practicing, educating, and teaching the way you do. Very nice, very nice. She went on to say in our private Facebook group that we have for our students and our alumni that iridology has helped her to understand the relationships between different organs and organ systems more in depth. Iridology also gives me an advantage of seeing the potential for different genetic traits and qualities that may be underlying. By observing the Constitution, for example, you can extrapolate how the person's body will likely respond to applications of healing methods. Therefore, it has helped me to expand my knowledge and increased efficiency at providing more precise recommendations for health-oriented options. Love it. So what does this look like? It looks very similar to what we're doing. It looks very similar to what we're doing now, except that I encourage my students to have their microphones turned on, and we use the Zoom platform that allows you to have your camera turned on. I want to see your face when we're doing class, if it's at all possible. I want us to have a face-to-face interaction so I can make absolute sure that everything is really working for you. It is so important to me that this lands squarely for you. We video record every class. You get access to your class recordings. That's like another $23.95 value because you're getting the class a second time over. It's great if you have to miss a class for some reason, you just go back to the recording. Every lesson is divided into topics, and every topic has its own recording. And that again is worth about $23.95 because it's getting the course a third time. This is your Cliff's Notes. This is in case you just need to review one concept. You don't want to listen to the whole class. You just look for the section, that little recording on that one topic. You also, with this, get a downloadable digital textbook and a digital iridology map. Now, you go to university, you have to buy your own textbooks, right? Or you rent them. That's how you do it now. You rent them online mostly. Most iridology teachers don't supply you with a textbook. You have to buy one. The most popular iridology textbooks out there run about 250 Canadian, right? And then you still have to buy your iris map. I include these as downloadable bonuses for you. Print them up if you want, right? As an IPA certified instructor, my teaching materials have to be approved of by IPA. And this is what they said when they reviewed my textbook. Thank you for sending a PDF copy of your book. I must say that it is a beautifully written book following the IPA curriculum to a T. Your written explanations and pictures were excellently detailed, and any student should be honored to study from your work. The IPA Certification and Standards Committee reviewed your book and gave an outstanding review regarding following the syllabus, pictures, and knowledge of iridology materials. So there you go. They're a pretty tough crew to satisfy too. What about cheat sheets? If you could have the entire curriculum in a set of charts that was point form, 45 pages of charts, no less, could that be helpful? A lot of my students say that this is their go-to reference piece once they finish the course. No other teacher that I know of has cheat sheets. This is the pièce de résistance. We have a private Facebook group and we do office hours webinars twice a month. Why are they worth $10,000 each? Because this is where you get your additional mentoring, and this mentoring does not end when you finish your course. I do a lot of business development courses where I pay coaches to help me improve my marketing and my presentation skills and things like that. Typically those programs cost about $1,000 a month, and when you finish them, you lose all access to coaching, all access to the Facebook group. You only retain access to any recorded material. In my program, that's not the case. You retain access to all of the Facebook group stuff, to all of our office hours webinars for as long as I'm teaching. And I'm not planning on quitting soon because I have way too much fun. The office hours webinars are recorded. We store them for only 18 months because otherwise it would take up too much bandwidth. Another one of my students said this about the materials. She's a master herbalist, and she said the materials are easy to navigate in the online program, including numerous cheat sheets, which are amazing and invaluable. She commented on the way the program is taught as a step-by-step system of assessing the iris, and that we don't just teach identification of markings and what they mean. We go a step further to teach how to use that information to create a health program when working with clients. Love it. Last but not least, if you want to certify with IPA, there is some requisite mentoring that has to happen in order for you to actually apply to write the IPA final exam. So the mentoring is exam 1 and exam 2. Exam 1 is I give you 10 case studies. You do them up in the way you will never practice iridology again after we finish this. I mark them. You and I meet together for a private one-on-one to go over any things that need some spit and polish and to commend you for what you've done well. Exam number 2 is a single case study that you do as the final, not quite the final. Send it back to me. I mark it. We again book a one-on-one. We go over that together. And then when you and I both agree that you are rock solid to do the IPA written exam, I let IPA know and you apply to take the exam. You also need to purchase an IPA student membership before you take the exam. And we go over that all again later on. Most teachers do not include the exam mentoring in their program tuition. So you might be paying $1,200 or $1,400 or $1,600 US to take the course. Then when you get down to the mentoring, they charge an extra $500 or $1,000. I include that for all of my students. And even if you don't want to certify with IPA, I encourage my students to do at least exam number 1 with me as a way of proving to yourself how much you've learned. The total value of the program, including tuition and all these bonuses, is over $31,000. Over $31,000. And you know, I could sell it for that because of all of the mentoring that's involved, you know, years of mentoring if that's what you need. And I'm happy to give that to you when you've been one of my students. But the thing is, that would make this so exclusive that it would defeat my purpose of trying to get this into as many holistic health clinics as I can. So I've come up with something that's more equitable, and I think you will appreciate this and agree with me. The tuition is $23.95 Canadian. So let's talk about what this means, because if you're in the US, when you go to pay this on your PayPal, you're going to find that in US dollars, it's actually going to come out to be about $1,800 US dollars. If you're in Canada, you're going, yes, it's not US dollars. It's only $23.95 Canadian. If you're in Australia, PayPal is going to convert this. It's going to be about $25.50. Again, you're grateful we're not going through US. And if you're in the UK, it's going to be about 1,400 British pounds sterlings. Now, if you don't have $23.95 just sitting in your back pocket, waiting to be invested in your professional development, there is a payment plan. 5 payments of $549 Canadian. So what does that look like if we convert it? And here we go. About 400 bucks US, about 325 British pounds sterling, about 580 Australian dollars, 1 payment a month for 5 months. Now this next course is starting on Thursday, July 30th. It will be running 5 to 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. I've done my best to figure out the time zones, but you know your time zone better than I do, so I encourage you to hop on over to a time zone converter, put in 5 p.m. Mountain Daylight, and see what it comes up for where you live. Now, I get it that we live in a different time right now. And when I say we live in a different time, what I mean is many of us can't practice face-to-face because of COVID. So I've added a new unit into the course for how to do iridology with clients when you can't actually be face-to-face with them. We're going to teach our clients how to get usable, they won't be fabulous and awesome, but usable photos with their cell phones so they can send those to you. Now, another little thing that you need to know is that when we hit 10 students enrolled in this program, we close registration down. Remember I said small groups? 10 is the max. Anyone after 10 goes on a wait list for the next program. And so what we've got here then is the registration link. If you are ready to hop on, let me come down here and give this to you in a clickable link. There we go. This is what another one of my students said. Now, she came to me with so much iridology under her belt, I was almost afraid of her, right? Beautiful, beautiful woman. You can tell by her smile that she's lovely. She says that my course was top on her list. Oh my goodness, most amazing iridology course she'd taken, because not only did it teach accurate iridology and sclerology, but it taught her how to put it together and make a proper assessment. That's great. Stephanie Morgan came to me also. She has a master's degree in education. Okay, so she knows teaching when she sees it. She's also done a little video testimonial on my YouTube site for me. She says, I've spent several books on, I have several books on iridology, and I tried to teach myself, spent several hours online on YouTube watching various portions of classes and presentations. They were so conflicting and confusing and overwhelming. I told my husband, this is beyond me. I'm not getting this at all. After she finished her program, she said, Judith offers her students a practical, well-designed curriculum. The pace allows students to retain information. I greatly appreciate the emphasis on putting knowledge into practice. Every interaction and resource is professional and helpful. She displays a genuine interest in each student's success. She excels in the role of educator, mentor, and cheerleader. I recommend this comprehensive class to anyone with a sincere desire to learn this discipline. Love it. Thank you. I so love my students. They are so amazing. So again, we are starting on Thursday, July 30th at 5 p.m. You've got the registration link in your comments there. What I want you to know is that I started my business from scratch. I'm really no different than you are. I did it the way I was taught. It was hard, and I made mistakes along the way. I didn't have anyone to mentor me. This holistic stuff, this nutrition stuff was not big 40 years ago, 30 years ago. I was all leading edge, but I happily share what I've created. I have a proven plan for assessing my clients' needs, creating programs that they can be successful with, and streamlining my client work. And I share that with you. So you don't have to spend 10 frustrating years figuring it out. So you don't have to give up on your dreams of helping people. And so you can create the business that you want on your own terms. There's the link again. I encourage you, if you want to hop on over and get registered while we're online, that would be cool. But open that in a new tab. Don't leave me now, because we're just going to go through some things. I'm going to give you a free gift, because you came today because you don't feel as confident as you want to when you're with your client sessions. Maybe that was one of your reasons. You don't like the imposter syndrome. And you know that when you feel that doubt in yourself, everybody else feels it, and your clients feel it, and they don't want to work with you if you are not confident. So this course helps you to develop confidence. Maybe you came because you're tired of those unpaid hours creating protocols. It's not a good use of your time. It really isn't. And if I can teach you how to speed up that protocol creation process, if I can teach you how to create a therapeutic sequence of 3 or 4 or 5 appointments to come so that you can seed that and help your client want to come back, how powerful is that? And there we go. You don't want to keep finding new clients. If I can help you with that, that would be great. Getting that word of mouth advertising, yeah. And if you had those thoughts of you should just get a real job and you don't want to, if that's in the back of your brain, then we need to help you with your success. And iridology, the way I teach it, can help you find that success, can help you develop it. I sincerely doubt that you want to get another job or a job of a different kind. All right, you ready for the free gift? Yeah, all right already, right? So you stay to the end. I'm going to post this link in the chat box. There we go. And so this, it looks like it's just a piece of paper, a chart. And it really, that's all it is, but it's a chart that really is going to help you. So column number 1, to be addressed in appointment date. So you're just going to put today's date, and you've got 2 rows for number 1. That's appointment number 1, appointment number 2, appointment number 3, appointment number 4. You're going to put dates in these columns. Imbalance noted from iridology. Now, when you've got iridology under your belt, you can relate this back to what the iris markings were you wanted to work with. If you don't have iridology under your belt, just put the symptom in here that you want to work with. the dietary action that you're recommending, the supplements that you're recommending, and the lifestyle that you're recommending. Now, I want you to notice this is a very tiny space. If the recommendations you're making take more than this amount of space, you're giving too much homework. This is a self-limiting process, right? We're making you cram everything you want to recommend into this tiny space. And we're also going to suggest that in that first appointment, you make point form notes coming down this column of what you want to work on in appointment 2, 3, 4, 5, right? This is going to help you stay focused and stay on track with chunking down what you want your client to be working on. So important. Now, if you have any problems with that, with getting it downloaded, just let me know and I will help you get it. So some questions and answers that we need to be aware of. These are questions that people have asked me at various points along the way. The first one is, how long will it take you to do the course? Well, it's 20 weeks long to do the curriculum. And then I give my students 10 more months to complete the certification requirements if they choose to certify. Now, that's my limitation of 10 more months. And why do I do that? Because I have found that if students don't get it done within 10 months, they don't get it done. So I want to hold your feet to the fire. If you've said you want to certify, I want to help you get that done. Okay. Remember, when you want to certify, then you're going to have to pay a membership fee to IPA and a certification exam fee to IPA after I've told them you're ready for the exam. How much time per week do you need to set aside? You need to set aside 2 hours for the class, obviously, and another 2 or 3 hours to practice and study. Right? There's a lot to do here. Now, I know right now you may be limited to only practicing on the eyes of the people you live with. And so be it. We will look at 1,001 iris slides, if not more. We'll get lots of practice. I'm going to be out of town next month. Will I fall too far behind? These are all recorded. So, you know, if you're somewhere where you've got internet access, just join us from wherever you are. If you don't have internet access, I try to get the recordings up within 24 hours. So hopefully you'll have time to do the recording and study a little bit before the next class. How do I know if this course is right for me? Well, if you're a nutritionist, a herbalist, or a naturopath, and if you're looking for a proven way to assess your client needs quickly and easily, if you really want to get rid of that unpaid homework time, or if you simply want to learn the most up-to-date, scientifically validated form of iridology and how to apply it in your practice, then this course is for you. When will you know enough to start using what you've learned? By the end of the second lesson. And I encourage you to start practicing right away. Don't leave it. If you start right away, it's going to stick so much better. What else do you need to buy for this course? The only things that are not included in your tuition are a 5 to 10 power magnifying glass, a pen light, and a lighted magnifier. And what I usually do is about a week before the course begins, I post examples of the kinds of things that you would want to consider buying for this in the Facebook group. As soon as you enroll in the program, I welcome you into the Facebook group so you can see there exactly what you need to get. These things shouldn't cost you more than about $50 US or $70 Canadian. And they will last you forever. I've got some that are literally 40 years old. What if I don't like it? Can I get a refund? This is a certification course for professionals. As such, refunds are not available for any reason. My mandate in this course is to make this the best learning experience you've ever had. Again, the course starts on July 30th, 5 to 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Not such a great time for those of you that are in England, but the rest of us, it's pretty good. Again, it's all recorded. So even if you had to miss a couple of classes or several classes for whatever reason, you've got access to everything. So just before we wrap up, I want to know, what was your biggest aha or your biggest takeaway from what we covered today? I'd love to see some comments in the chat box about that. Did you see yourself in any of the things that we discussed? Can you see how iridology can help you be more laser focused and intentional in what you do with your clients? I would love to know that. I want to thank you while you're typing that in. I want to thank you for spending the last 75 minutes, hour and a half with me. I truly appreciate it. I'm excited to have you in the course. I look forward to you registering. And yeah, I hope that you found this super helpful. And I would love it if you'd, I'm going to hang on for just another minute while I watch for what was the thing that you went, oh, wow, I could actually implement that right now. And if you've got any questions about the program, I would love to answer them for you. So we'll give you just a minute to see if anyone's going to hop on and give me that kind of feedback. And all right, I'm not seeing anything come in. I know some of you were fairly late in the evening. I have someone who wanted the recording link because she is, it would have been 2 a.m. for her to do this. So there will be a recording link sent out. Thank you again for being with me. I truly appreciate it. And I do hope that I see you in the course this go around. Bye for now.